This program is brought to you by Zenus, leading the optimum wellness movement in body and spirit with nature.
My whole purpose is to get people off of their drugs and get them to live a healthy life.
It's such a miracle. I mean, this is dollar for dollar. Best stuff I've ever had in my office.
Hey folks, welcome to the show. This is the Wellness Express, the first edition of the show. My name is Anthony, and joining me, as you will get to know, is Doug Whitfield, educator and author of Life or Grave Danger, a fabulous book. He is also the president and CEO of Zenus Global Health. Let's just state it up front. The Wellness Express, the consultation is always free, backed by Nature's Pharmacy. That's what we're all about. Wellness can be all yours, but it begins with your mindset. Doug, we are embarking on a new journey. It is great to be joining you for it. How are you, my friend?
I am so good I can barely stand it, Anthony, but I'll get better.
Can you believe it? We're finally on the airwaves after many, many months of pursuing this. This is going to be quite a travel. Yes, people are on a journey to wellness, but I think it's great that we are here to share the message, and I'm glad to be doing it with you.
Well, that's wonderful, Anthony. It's certainly our firm belief that people can only make intelligent and logical choices predicated on having good information. And so it's our desire through these shows to be able to give people information. They can evaluate it and determine if it's something that fits their philosophy and if it's something that they want to implement on their journey to wellness.
Well, you know, people nowadays, Doug, they talk an awful lot about wellness, but at its base, it's more than just health. It's more than just being free of disease. We are really seeking a level of optimal balance, and that balance really begins with an evaluation of the information, and that's the role of poisons and toxins in our environment and how it impacts our health.
And one of the things that we generally don't give a lot of thought to is the toxins in our mindsets: anger, fear, anxiety, worry, stress. All of these negative mindsets alter the body's chemistry, can bring down the body and compromise the immune system and the adrenal system.
We talk about food, we talk about toxic substances, chemicals, drugs, the prolonged stagnation of fecal waste by constipation. We also talk about those mindsets and how important they are. But beneath all this, if we are to remove these poisons and toxins, that critical role of detoxification, we really need to put that on the table. Is that not right?
A lot of these toxins may not be the precursor of the disease, but a lot of them can be what we call healing barriers. Certain mindsets can simply obstruct the body from being able to do what nature intended for it to do, and that was to restore balance and overcome these challenges. So when we've got anger or stress or fear, all of them can obstruct the body's ability to work the way it was designed.
We live in a more toxic world, I think, than ever. It's the air, it's the water, it's the food, the level of stress that we live with in our everyday lives. It's also the kinds of foods that we ingest as well, Doug. We are living in a world in which toxicity and poisons really do surround us at an unprecedented level.
Oh, well, there's no question, and it's all to do with corporate profits and corporate greed. We have such an abundance of chemicals in our food chain, and it comes right from the food source. We start with all of our chemical fertilizers. Then we've got our pesticides and algicides and fungicides and all these other sides, and these are all insidious toxins. And part of our philosophy, Anthony, is that the primary cause of all the chronic conditions are poisons, toxins, and accumulated waste. And it's contrary to what we learned in school, and you've heard me talk about this before, because in school, thanks to people like Louis Pasteur and the germ theory that disease comes from viruses and pathogens and bacteria and germs, well, that's factually just not true. Those have never been the primary cause of any degenerative challenge. Secondary at best, because they're all living entities, and as every living entity on the planet, their main course of action is to look for a host that will provide them with a food source. So if you have an abundance of accumulated waste and toxins in your system, you become a willing and inviting host.
Let's also get to the point here. Let's say that, I'm listening to this for the first time. Hey, you guys are speaking a pretty good game. Okay, I'm buying this Wellness Express early on. So let's assume that I think that you guys are speaking the right tune, right? This is where detox and our body's internal wisdom now starts to take control here. How do we get rid of these poisons and toxins from our system so that our body can be empowered to do the job it was designed to do?
Well, again, if you buy into our philosophy that every degenerative and chronic condition is caused from poisons and accumulated waste, if you buy that as a truth, which I know it is, then logic dictates that the first order of business would be to assist the body in the elimination of what's causing the imbalance in the system. And so any therapy treating any degenerative condition that doesn't include a detoxification program is doomed for failure right from the start. One of the problems that we have with conventional or allopathic medicine is we're constantly treating the symptom, and the causes are not only untouched, but they're unknown. And that's why allopathic medicine or conventional medicine can never successfully treat these degenerative or chronic conditions. We've had tremendous success in Asia, for example, because they recognize that it's wonderful if you've got surgical emergencies, if you've got acute conditions of broken bone, you want to go to a doctor because they know exactly how to set the bone. They know how to dress a wound. Some of the surgical procedures that we have now are light years ahead of where we were half a century ago. It's amazing. But when it comes to treating long-term degenerative and chronic conditions, again, we've gone nowhere. We've gone backward. We're changing. Nothing has changed. That's why we just concluded an answer to cancer. We talked about demographically speaking, at the turn of the last century, 1 out of 20 people were going to be cancer victims. By the 1940s, it was 1 out of 16. I think 1 out of 8 by the 70s, and now it's 1 out of 3. And 2 of those 3 have a life expectancy of less than 5 years. And why? Because nothing's changed. It's chemotherapy, radiation, surgery. And there's laws that persuade doctors not to use anything else. Now, state of California, it's a felony for them to use anything else. Not only do they risk their practice, but they risk being incarcerated. And yet they know conclusively, it's been proven that nobody's ever survived because of chemo or radiation. They maybe will survive in spite of it.
That's a very interesting piece of information because, number one, it's totally accurate. And number two, it speaks to the level of healthcare that we have in this country. We spend more on healthcare than ever before, yet the statistics continually do not improve, or at least they stay level at best. And it gets right back down to that point that you raised there, Doug, in my mind, that as long as we're treating symptoms, we're just kicking the can down the street. The changes that our bodies typically need them at a microscopic level or at a cellular level, and that's really where detoxification begins. And that really is the baseline for your products, your life's work, the things that you have been working on for, my gosh, at least half a century. People need to know that, and in fact, testimonials to back up your work.
2018 will mark for me a half a century in the field of nutrition, so that'll be 50 years. And I've been blessed, primarily not because I'm the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I've been blessed with having been able to attract some of the most brilliant minds on the planet, and I've been a good student. And I have the ability to try and disseminate the information, to share that with others, because it's just predicated on pure logic. There's no hype, there's no fear, it's strictly logic. And the first thing that I discovered and was taught by them was the philosophy that was taught to us by Hippocrates, who came up with the Hippocratic Oath. He said, let food be your medicine, let medicine be your food. Mm-hmm. You see, when you look at all the drugs, and we're the most drugged nation in the world right now, every single drug, prescription drug, comes with a side effect. That side effect is simply our body's wisdom telling us that that is not in harmony with our needs. Pain only comes from 2 sources, Anthony. Pain comes from either poisons or it comes from compressed nerves. So when we got a headache, the headache, or any ache, it's a symptom that there's something out of balance. It's either waste in the body, poisons, nerves being exposed to the poison, or compressed nerves. Pain is there as a flag the body's sending us to let us know that there's an imbalance that should be addressed. And so if we eliminate the pain by cutting off the sensors to the brain so that the brain doesn't feel the pain, we're not addressing the problem at all. We're simply addressing a symptom of the problem. And it's the same thing with all prescription medication. They only address the symptom. It's just like with cancer. They always want to get rid of the tumor. Well, I'm not suggesting that getting rid of the tumor isn't important, but a tumor is not the cancer. A tumor is a symptom of a person with a cancer condition. It's simply a garbage pail that the body's wisdom has created to store excess poisons in order to prevent them from causing irreparable damage to vital organs in the body. That tumor is there to save your life. It's not an evil thing. And yet the minute you talk to your oncologist and they see that there's a tumor, we got to get rid of that. So what do they want to do? They want to use poisons to get rid of it, chemo or radiation, which are two of the most insidious toxins and carcinogens. They cause cancer in the world, or they want to cut it out. And surgery on occasion might be beneficial. However, usually when you open something up, it oxidizes and then it makes it easy to metastasize and spread to other areas. And so it can grow radically from that point on. So even surgery is very dangerous, but certainly chemo and radiation play no role in healing. People survive cancer not because of radiation or surgery, but they survive it in spite of radiation or chemotherapy rather.
Folks, you're listening to the Wellness Express here on the Airtime America Radio Network. My name is Anthony. I'm here with Doug Whitterfield, who is the author of a great book, Life or Grave Danger. You can find that on Amazon. And, of course, he is also the president and CEO of Zenus Global Health. Doug, I want to get back to this point you just raised here. We have people who are not managing these toxins and poisons quite well or well enough, and therefore are compromising the very engine or the very wisdom designed to prevent the onset of chronic illness and premature aging. This is another reason why detoxification is so important.
There's two aspects to the healing process. We've been talking about the detoxifying because that's the primary cause of every degenerative or chronic condition or poisons. However, you got to understand exactly how the body works, because once there's been damage done, the body has to heal. And in order for it to heal properly, it requires enzymes. Enzymes are our electrical chemical life force. Every cell in every living organism in the world is simply an enzyme factory. So every cell in our body is an enzyme factory with its own intelligence. And what they do is they produce enzymes, and each of those enzymes has a specific function in the body, whether it's in the healing process, whatever it does, because every aspect of living, our walking, our talking, our breathing, our seeing, every aspect of living is a function of enzymes. That's our life force. No enzymes, no life. And usually what happens is that people that are suffering from some of these insidious challenges, especially in the later stages, suffer from an enzyme deficiency. In other words, the cells can't produce enough enzymes to go ahead and effectively heal. And that's because of the buildup of toxins. So the first thing, we've got to get rid of the toxins, but then we have to provide the cells with the nutrients necessary so that they can create more enzymes. Because that tumor, for example, once you can eliminate poisons, if you've got enzymes, the enzymes will go ahead and start breaking down that tumor naturally. Anthony, we were all children at one time, and we can remember back where we suffered from scrapes or cuts or that, and you could literally look at the body, look at where you were cut, and start to see it heal over. And that's a function of enzymes and body chemistry and body wisdom. And the only time it doesn't work is when we've got an abundance of poisons or there's a healing barrier. So the key is that give it the proper nutrients so the cells can create the enzymes, get rid of the toxins and the blockages that are preventing the body from getting those nutrients and being able to utilize them, and the body's wisdom will restore balance.
The fact that your products and your processes really demand the introduction of whole food supplements. Talk to people a little bit about why whole food is so important in this battle against toxins and poisons, and really this undercurrent of the importance of nutrition.
Well, again, it goes back, I was talking about Hippocrates. He came up with the Hippocratic Oath, but Hippocrates, father of modern medicine, made a very profound statement. And he simply said, let food be your medicine and let medicine be your food. You see, depending on your religious persuasion, most religions agree that we were created. And whoever created that didn't make mistakes. The fact that you can look out and you see all these colors, you can, with a single thought, you can move your arm or hand, you can voice your opinions. All these things are part of the body's magic. And anytime something like that can be created, rest assured that there was something also created to provide it with the tools it needs to live a lifestyle of wellness and joy and health. And that comes in our fruits, our vegetables, and our herbs, botanics. And only in these herbs and in these fruits, in these vegetables, is a synergistic blend of nutrients that's recognized by this at a cellular level because it's in total harmony with its needs. I call it nature's pharmacy. So nature's pharmacy has a way of blending, whether they be the enzymes, the coenzymes, minerals, trace minerals, vitamins, all these different nutrients come in a molecular form because at a cellular level, the cells are very, very critical on every molecule that comes its way because it has to have the exact credentials in order to pass inspection and be approved to enter into the cell. Because if it's not in harmony with its needs, the cell simply targets it for elimination. That's why synthetics, foods that are denatured in that, they can't be utilized at a cellular level. So that's why only foods created by nature are proper medicine. Drugs come with side effects. They're synthetic. They can't be used effectively. And matter of fact, we actually create more stress in the body by feeding it food that's been denatured, whether it be a drug, a synthetic, an isolate, vitamins. Guess what? Those are just more drugs. They're either synthetic or they've been denatured because they've been isolated from their team members. Vitamins are catalysts for enzymes. They speed up enzyme activities, and they're only found with the enzyme, coenzyme, mineral, trace mineral. They come as a team, and anytime you isolate them, they're no longer recognized as food for the cells.
Folks, you are listening to the Wellness Express here on the Airtime America Radio Network. I'm here with Doug Whitfield. This show is brought to you by the fine people at Zenus Global Health. Give them a call at 702-540-5668. More about the insidious nature of disease, more on the way about an answer to cancer, and don't forget a great interview today with Dr. German Zermeno, an expert in integrated medicine. He's got a lot to say as well. This is the Wellness Express.
The Optimum D-tox is absolutely an incredible product. You know, right now, the supplemental industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. But the fact of the matter is that if you don't address the cleansing aspect, the detoxifying aspect of it, most of these products, as good as they are not being used effectively. So in other words, you're just throwing your money away. You're just not getting the benefits, or you're getting certainly not all the benefits that you should be getting.
I would literally want to lie in bed for way past the alarm clock, way past when I should get up and get going. I was tired and I was definitely lethargic and kind of sluggish. You know, my system wasn't running well.
I love to be able to give this to patients and know the various effects that it has on them without the negative side effects that you have with drugs.
When I was retired in 1991, I felt 90 years old. I subsequently reversed all my health problems.
I had acid reflux really bad. And within 3 days, I was able to get completely off of all acid reflux pills. And then as an afterthought, about 8 months later, I noticed, I wasn't keeping track of my weight or anything, but I realized that I had lost about 40 pounds. So it's been pretty amazing.
It actually makes me feel a lot better when I get up. In the morning, I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm not sluggish anymore. It's like I get up and it's like, okay, I'm ready to start my day and get out the door and let's go do things. And whereas before, it would take me a good hour to get out of the house. I'd have to wake up 2 hours ahead of time just to get out of the house.
It's an abundance of natural occurring vegetable steroids. And these are steroids that are not to be confused with anabolic or chemical steroids that athletes use. What they do is they act as a catalyst to speed up the activity of the friendly flora, which is the aerobic bacteria in the system. And what these bacteria then do is they come forth in greater numbers, produce up to 60,000 times more digestive enzymes. So a lot of the foods that we've eaten that have impacted themselves, so we've got all this buildup of toxins in the system, it's able to break that down into tiny little particles that the body can now eliminate, excrete.
And one of the immediate results that I saw is that it did help the patients much quicker in their recovery. That's why I made it a routine part of all of my patients, and I actually prescribe this for every single patient that comes through the door. I give them their first bottle, so they'll have it. I have them start on it right away.
That's just part of the Optimum Detox story. Learn more about this remarkable product at zenusglobalhealth.com. Hey folks, welcome back to the Wellness Express. My name is Anthony, joined here with Doug Whitfield. Again, the consultation's free. We are backed by Nature's Pharmacy. Our first episode today on this Airtime America Radio Network. Great to be with you always. Mr. Whitfield, I want to get really quickly into a subject that you and I have been discussing for a very long time, a movement of sorts that has really been at the forefront of your thought process for quite some time, and that's this new mission you've undertaken at Zenus. It's called An Answer to Cancer. You can find it at ananswertocancer.com. Give folks a bit of a preview or an update or an idea of what motivated you behind this mission. What is it all about?
Well, cancer is one of those insidious challenges that most of us come in contact with during our lifetime. Either it affects us personally or somebody that we know and we love. And it's just seems to have got almost to an epidemic proportion right now. I've never, ever seen a time when there were so many people suffering from this insidious challenge. And again, the powers to be that regulate everything in North America only allow us to use those things that have been proven successfully not to work. Chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. Since the advent of these protocols, the number of people getting cancer and dying from cancer have only increased exponentially. In the last section I talked about it, in 1900, 1 out of 20 people acquired cancer. By the 70s, it was, I think, 1 out of 8. Now it's 1 out of 3. And again, the only things recognized and used by conventional medicine in North America, radiation, chemotherapy, and surgery, with the first two being the most insidious of poisons, the things that cause cancer. I watched my mom die of cancer. My wife's mom died of cancer. And in a way, I guess the good thing that came from that is that it created us to meet. And because of what we had both gone through, our wedding was predicated on a pact we made that we were going to devote our lives to helping people and educating people so that they could either resist or helping them by simply giving them information so that they had legitimate choices to make, choices that could make a difference. Because the choices that science is offering right now, which is so skewed, only enhances the problem, doesn't address any of the remedies.
You just said something there for me, Doug, that I think should resonate for anybody. Whether you know somebody who has cancer, whether you have cancer yourself, whether you fear getting it in the future, it's like 1 out of 3. Just think about that, Doug. Literally, look to your left, look to your right. One of you is going to get it in your lifetime. That is staggering, an incredible statistic.
The interesting thing is that as we started to publish information back in the late 80s, early 90s, we caught the attention of the government in China. We were already developing whole food nutritional supplements that would help address some of these challenges, combined with a protocol of detoxifying and lifestyle changes, and the philosophy that only the body can heal. Doctors, they can certainly set a broken bone, they can dress a wound, but they can't even tell you how a tear is shed, let alone talk about treating any of these degenerative chronic conditions. The causes are both not just untouched, but they're unknown. And so we caught the attention of the Federal Ministry of Health in China.
Right.
They approached me in the early 90s, and in 1991, we granted them the authority to test 2 different whole food supplements that we had. And the results were staggering. They spent $7 million from 1991 through 1996 doing a whole series of double-blind studies, which included toxicity studies, included sarcoma studies where they actually induced tumors into mice and then treated them and monitored the results, and eventually hundreds and hundreds of patients in their hospitals and medical centers that they actually monitored after being treated. And the results were published in Mandarin, translated into English. And at that time, we hosted the Minister of Health, the Deputy Minister, and their whole entourage went through our factory and approved our factory to pharmaceutical standards and approved the 2 products that they tested with both drug identification numbers and import permits for treating cancer patients throughout China. And now the significance of this is that China at that time had been recognized as the foremost authority in herbal medicine for about 5,000 years. And for them to spend $7 million studying an herbal formula made outside of their country and to approve it was really an amazing thing. And to this day, those are still the only 2 products in the history of this planet that are Western-based whole food supplements approved by the Chinese Federal Ministry of Health for treating cancer. Now, the other interesting thing, because politics plays a significant role over here, and we've talked about the golden rule, and that's he who has the gold gets to make the rules. Well, the government, both Canada and United States, are both guilty, forbid us from even putting the test results on our website because that is deemed as making a medical claim. Well, understand one thing. At no time have I ever claimed our products cure cancer, and they don't treat cancer. They're simply whole food nutritional supplements that give the body the tools it lacks in order for it to assist it in eliminating the causes, which are poisons and toxins, accumulated waste, and give it the nutrients it needs at a cellular level for the body to be able to manufacture the enzymes necessary to do the healing process. Because any protocol for treating cancer that doesn't include a detoxification program is simply a recipe for disaster. It's doomed for failure right from the start. Now, one of the problems or challenges in the natural health arena that we have is usually people come to us after they've been given up by conventional medicine. When they've been told there's nothing we can do for you, you may as well start getting your affairs in order, because oftentimes the damage is so great that it's beyond the point of return. And those are what comes typically into the natural health arena. So we can't save everybody. And it doesn't matter what you do. There's no protocol or product out there that can benefit somebody once they've gone, well, I shouldn't say can't benefit. Oftentimes it can still extend their life and give them a better quality of life. But you can't always save a person. And so conventional medicine use this as part of their fear-mongering. Say, see, that didn't work or that didn't work. But they don't tell you that the patient came to us long after their chances of survival were already given up by medical authorities, so-called authorities.
Yeah, I want to really stress that point you just made there, Doug, that you are still the only Western-based company to have 2 drug identification numbers for your own proprietary formulas. This is a remarkable achievement that should not be underestimated. Those 2 products, just so people know what they were, are what? Optimum Detox and Asceniac Herbal Tea, correct?
The precursors to those, I developed them years back, the 2 products that were used, and these are simply an extension of those products. What we've done is over a period of time, because at one time they were both liquid products and they came in 1-liter containers. And of course, a lot of the problems came after 9/11, where we were restricted to the amount that you could put in a bottle and fly. The other one was the fact that in a liquid form, in the case of the one product, we weren't allowed any preservatives in it, obviously. And so it had a very limited shelf life. So in order to overcome that, what we did is we came up with a system of delivery without compromising the integrity or the efficacy of the product. We made it much more affordable and much more portable. So it comes in a capsule form because it's a tea, but rather than a liquid that you mix hot water with, you simply get a capsule, you open the capsule, empty the contents into an empty cup, and rehydrate it and make a cup of tea out of it. So it comes in a little tiny bottle. You get 30 capsules, and it's a 1-month supply, whereas you used to have to pay significant more money and it would come in a 1 liter glass bottle that was awkward to carry around, and you couldn't take it on a plane with you.
Again, folks, you're listening to Doug Whitfield here on the Wellness Express as part of the Airtime America Radio Network. The consultation's always free, backed by Nature's Pharmacy. I want to get back to an answer to cancer.com. Folks, take a look at this website. There's a video up there that's about 13 minutes that leads you through the story of where we are in this battle against cancer. There's a free offer for an ebook even to teach you a little bit more about cancer and what it means. And also, Doug has kindly also extended a free consultation as part of the offer. Again, you can find it at ananswertocancer.com. If you have an urgent condition, you can call him direct at 702-540-5668. Again, urgent questions will help empower your body's innate wisdom today. Doug, want to get back to this offer. You brought this all together. You gave away part of your book, The Life or Grave Danger, which I totally recommend. I've read it a number of times. You can literally pick up in this book anywhere and learn something about the human body, healing, and so much more. What, again, inspired you to put this free offer together? Is it, after a half a century of work that finally it's like we've reached an epidemic level? What inspired you to put this offer together?
Well, I'm a senior citizen, and I've been extremely blessed. Both my wife and I, we're in our 70s. We have absolutely no health challenges of any kind. So we're living proof. We're products of our product. And yet others in our family have suffered. We live by the philosophy that we can get everything we want out of life by helping others get what they want. So we feel that we have a responsibility to share this information. People may not buy into our philosophy, and that's okay. I would urge them to at least listen and look and view things with an open mind, because we come from pure logic. It's not just emotion. There's no fear-mongering. You'll find that allopathic or conventional medicine, when you go to a doctor, he's going to say, if you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. If you don't do this, is what's going to happen. And yet you'll find there's a lot of oncologists out there that when afflicted or a family member afflicted, they don't turn to their own protocol because they've recognized through years of working with it that doesn't work. Understand that most of these drug-based industry, this medicine, is perpetrated by the pharmaceutical companies. Years back, the pharmaceutical companies started making huge investments into conventional medicine, and they started by financing the medical schools. Well, the trade-off is that they would finance the medical schools in return for being able to develop the curriculum that the students learned. There was an agenda there, so they were taught about prescription drugs, and that's where we are today. You can go in to see a doctor, and before they've even checked you out, they're asking, what kind of a drug would you like? And most of them aren't even aware of a lot of the side effects associated with these drugs. The side effects oftentimes is much more serious than the original challenge that they were facing when they were thinking of taking the drug. I look at these all these statin drugs, Lipitor, Zocor. I mean, it's insidious what they do to the body because it lowers cholesterol. Well, guess what? I call it cholesterol. It's a man-made disease. High cholesterol is not an issue, never has been, never will be. The liver produces cholesterol. It's a natural anti-inflammatory, and we need it. Without cholesterol, we would be dead in minutes. And so the body needs it, and it also monitors it. We get it in food that we eat. So if we're getting too much in our food, the body lowers its production. If we're not getting enough, the liver increases its production. Anytime you take a blood test, it might show that you've got high cholesterol, but it's usually associated with the fact that there's probably an inflammatory condition taking place somewhere in your body, because anytime there's inflammation in the body increases its production of cholesterol because it's a natural anti-inflammatory.
Typically people who deal in the natural health arena or deal with whole food nutritional supplements don't always do this, but you are very clear that you should be consulting your physician and your healthcare professional before starting any program to determine if this information and these protocols are right for their needs. I also find it very interesting that the number of doctors that you've worked with over the course of your work in this realm, how many of them have endorsed your product and how how many have come to accept how important these products really have become in terms of their own practices, and some of them, quite frankly, have suggested and recommended these very products in the face of chronic disease like cancer. It's remarkable.
Well, usually it comes from frustration. You got to understand, doctors are like every other facet of life. There's good ones and there's bad ones. And, there's some that are exceptional. Mm-hmm. I've been blessed with meeting some, and they're usually referred to as mavericks. But these are the people that have set milestones in the field of medicine and the field of healing, because they're not content with the status quo. A lot of them got frustrated because they could see what they were doing wasn't working. Now, it works good, like I say, for acute conditions, but not with degenerative or chronic conditions. Mm-hmm. And this is why we've had tremendous success in some of the Pacific Rim countries. I was a guest of the government in Singapore, South Korea, a guest of the government there, where I lectured in Seoul, South Korea, and also at the University of Daejeon. They invited me as a guest to address their 40 leading oncologists. Hong Kong, before it reverted to China. We actually set up a major distribution center over there with amazing results because they recognized that conventional medicine, they have conventional medicine there as well, but they recognize the benefits. Don't want to downplay conventional medicine because it's made huge strides when it comes to things like pain management, surgical procedures, but when it comes to treating diseases like cancer and lupus, they've gone absolutely nowhere at all. And yet they keep prescribing drugs. And drugs are not the answer. One of the challenges with conventional medicine, it's a one-size-fits-all. You see, they take a set of symptoms, they apply a label to it, and then they can cook up a formula that's supposed to fit everybody. Well, understand, we're not the same. What works for me, not necessarily is going to work for you because we're all unique. We're all one of a kind. We're a one-off. There'll never be another Anthony. There'll never be another Doug. There may be somebody similar, but never be identical. So we have to treat the person with the condition as opposed to treating a set of symptoms. So the idea of holistic medicine is treating the whole person, understanding, recognizing the causes, where the causes are coming from, what nutrients are lacking in the system, what are the healing barriers associated with that, what trauma have they gone through. Could be stress, loss of a loved one, could be fear of abandonment, any number of mental stresses that could be the triggering device to some of these conditions. And that's what you need to find out. So each patient is unique. You need to find out the causes in order to address them.
Folks, after our next break, speaking of great doctors here on the Wellness Express, a gentleman by the name of German Zermeno, a medical doctor who is now an integrated medical specialist. He will join us on the show. A fantastic interview, but don't forget, your wellness starts with you. You can find more about Zenus at zenusglobalhealth.com or give them a call at 702-540-5668. Learn more about these whole food products, and don't forget, learn more about cancer at ananswertocancer.com. If you need a consultation or if you just want the e-book, come right back after this message. And of course, Dr. German Zermeno will be with you to talk more about integrated medicine. You're listening to the Wellness Express. Hey, this is Anthony from the Wellness Express, and I guess for us to be proper hosts, it's probably more than appropriate to give you some insight into how you too can be a vital part of this show. For more than 30 years, the vision behind Zenus Global Health has been to promote optimal wellness by changing lives one at a time with groundbreaking products that connect people on so many levels. The company has been at the forefront of what is now called the wellness movement, sharing the Zenus story and its products with the world. Isn't it time that you made that important commitment to optimal health? Let us show you how to begin that journey to achieve the balance that you so rightly deserve. If you'd like to connect with us today, simply visit us at zenusglobalhealth.com/information, or you can send us an email at info, that's INFO, at zenusradio.com. We'll take your questions from off the air to on the air so that others can learn from your experience. But if you'd like to keep it confidential, just give it a mention on your message and we'll make sure to follow your request. So thanks for listening in, keep contributing, and keep it right here for our special guest. Hey, folks, welcome back to the Wellness Express here on the Airtime America Radio Network. Of course, my name is Anthony, and joining us today, his name is Dr. German Zermeno. He is the founder and director of the American Institute of Natural Medicine from Laguna Hills, California. Dr. Zermeno, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Been looking really forward to having you on the show because as I've got to know a little bit about your story, you're a very intriguing man, and the fact that you are a medical doctor who has made the move to what you call integrated medicine. And I think it's something worth sharing and worth talking about. If you could you explain to the audience your evolution to integrated medicine and really what it is in your mind?
I was practicing as a family practice physician for approximately 27 years, and I was doing pretty much conventional medicine, exchanging symptoms for a prescription, and all that time, some of the patients would get better, but the ones with chronic conditions will deteriorate more and more. They would go to the specialist, and they would get worse and eventually develop serious disabilities or even death because of their chronic conditions. After all that, I was frustrated with the system and also with the progression of the diseases from the patients that I said, this is not what I signed up for. So I started looking for alternative ways of treating patients, and I started studying, and I discovered several places where I can study other methods. So one of them was the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. So then I started going to their courses and learning more and more and more. And I was so intrigued when I saw that they were treating chronic conditions and they've been very successful. Then I started learning more about functional medicine and other areas, and I became fascinated with it. So I decided to learn as much as I could. And I started trying to practice that kind of medicine in the medical group where I was practicing. And it was impossible to do that, because it requires much more time to evaluate the patient. And finally, I just decided this is not going to work. So I decided to go on my own practice. And so far, it's been a beautiful trip. Integrated medicine is pretty much a different ball here. In conventional medicine, which we exchange symptoms for a prescription, integrated medicine, we look for the cause of the problem to correct the problem, to eliminate the symptoms, and to have the patient heal or get better.
You know, I look back at history, and I think history is a great, educator if we frame the narrative correctly. And I go back to the definition of integrative medicine, and it's really grounded in a statement that the World Health Organization came up with back in the 1940s, a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. You're a medical doctor. Does our educational system reflect those values?
Not really, because unfortunately, in conventional medicine, and that was one of the things that always frustrated me, is as you learn in medical school, many of the diseases, a lot of them said, we don't know the cause, the cause is unknown, and they suspect might be this and might be that, but it never really addressed lifestyle, nutrition, or other areas that are so important, and that's why people get sick.
I looked at your practice a bit via social media before we got to speaking tonight, and really the three things you focus on at your institute are nutrition, hormonal imbalances, and detoxification. Help us understand the importance of these things, because I'm in total accordance with you. I think without these three elements, how can optimal wellness ever be achieved?
Well, exactly. I mean, just think about it. I can describe as we are no more than malnourished body with hormonal imbalance and multiple toxins. We're really a polluted body, and we want to fix things with medication. That adds more pollution into the system. I mean, the body needs nutrients, and our current food supplies are very poor. I mean, they don't have the nutrients that we used to have many years ago. So nutrition, I do tests, and almost everyone has many nutritional deficiencies. So that leads to food allergies, hormonal imbalance, and because we're so polluted, right now we have so many toxins in our body that it's affecting the function of the hormones and also of the production of energy in the cell. So that leads to chronic diseases, disability and other issues like that, unfortunately. But in many of these cases could be corrected.
You know, we talk here on the show an awful lot about poisons and toxins, how modern life has increasingly placed more stresses on the human body and hence our immunological system. Is it that our food supply, our water supply, our air supply are becoming so much more polluted that the toxins are becoming a greater threat, or were they always there?
No, it's been getting worse and worse in the last, I would say, 50 years. And recently, we get almost all our vegetables are GMO, and they are loaded with glyphosate, which is one of the worst pesticides. Glyphosate is causing serious damage to the intestine. So the absorption of nutrients is impaired, and that causes food allergies. Also, we have chlorine and fluoride in the water. I mean, we drink water all the time, and we get loaded with chlorine and fluoride, and that blocks the functioning of the thyroid. So then we have heavy metals like mercury, lead. A lot of people still have dental amalgams or silver fillings, and that's mercury, and it's constantly released into your system and causes problems with the immune system. Plus the air that we breathe and fumes and radiation and electromagnetic pollution, and you name it, and we're loaded with toxins. All that causes problems with our hormones. So we have so many people with low thyroid. You know, they all get a blood test, and the blood test is normal, but a lot of the times the blood tests don't reflect the problem, especially with thyroid. Most people have low temperature. If you think about it, a lot of people are in, their temperature is 96, 97, and our normal temperature is 98.6. So we all have, walking with low temperature, and those are signs of low thyroid. Then women get to menopause, and they have serious problems with lack of hormones. And I tell you that one of the things that I love to do in my practice is to replace hormones, especially women with menopause, because their lives turn around, and they do so beautiful with the treatment of their hormones. And for men, unfortunately, even at young age right now, they are having deficiencies of testosterone. So you see men that are gaining weight, they're tired, they're cranky, they have difficulty concentrating, they cannot sleep. So their testosterone is low in many cases. And replacing the hormones, it turns people around to just get their life back. I love helping people with hormones.
What I found interesting about some of your analysis amongst the videos that I looked at was how you've linked this rate of depression and how people are being treated for depression when in fact it may be a thyroid condition. It may be something a lot simpler that's, look, conventional medicine is, again, treating the symptoms and not necessarily the cause of the disease itself.
You're right. I mean, a lot of patients with depression is caused by nutritional deficiencies and hormonal imbalance. Low thyroid causes depression, low hormones in menopause causes depression, and also low testosterone is a very common cause of depression. And if you see women when they have their period, when they are in the what they call PMS, they become very depressed, very irritable, very sometimes angry or very depressed. And that's because pretty much they go into a withdrawal of their own hormones. Their hormones drop, and then they become, very uncomfortable. Once the hormones kick back in their normal cycle, they get their sanity back. So that tells you that lack of hormones can create depression, anxiety, weight gain, irritability, you name it. I mean, it's multiple symptoms that can be resolved so beautiful just with the right hormones.
Take this to the third step for a second, and this is something I think our show sponsor, Doug Whitfield, knows a lot about, and I know you know a lot about Doug and his work, and that is the importance of proper detoxification. Talk to our listeners who may be just, getting to know the concepts of wellness a bit, but really how important being on a proper detoxification regimen really is to that balance that your body needs in order to empower itself to, heal a lot of the basic things that can afflict the human body.
Well, exactly. Detoxification is huge. It's extremely important. How can you heal if you continue to have your body full of toxins? Honestly, you can add as many hormones and nutrients as you want, but if your body is toxic and it cannot utilize those nutrients and hormones, you're still going to have an issue. So detoxification is extremely important. And the problem is a lot of people don't know how to detoxify. They drink green juices and all that, which is great. But the toxins sometimes are inside of the cell, and you have to know how to remove them. It takes time, and it takes a lot of work. But once you clean up the body, then things start turning around, and then the cells kick in. It's almost like we are a rechargeable battery that it gets discharged. And our body has millions of, I think trillions of tiny organelles or organs inside of the cell called the mitochondria. And those little tiny batteries are the ones that produce energy. So when those tiny batteries get recharged, the whole body gets recharged. But when those tiny batteries, the mitochondria, are damaged, the body cannot produce energy. And those batteries are damaged because of the toxins. They're blocking the production of energy. And that causes serious problems. So the core of healing is really detoxifying, is removing toxins. And everything starts at the intestinal level because that's where most of the problems are. And that's why we use one of Doc's products, the Optimum Detox, which work great. It replaces the intestinal bacteria, it balances the GI. Mm-hmm. One of the first things to help you detoxify is you have to balance the intestine. You have to balance the intestinal bacteria, the enzymes and the gastric acid. It's very, very important to keep that intestine healthy.
Folks, you're listening to Dr. German Zermeno here on the Airtime America Radio Network. My name is Anthony. Doctor, it would be remiss of me not to at least give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about your practice and what you call a complete physical evaluation at the American Institute of Natural Medicine. Folks, you can find him in Laguna Hills, California. Doctor, when you talk about complete physical evaluation, we have what we call the regimen through conventional medicine, but what you look at is a far more, a deeper inspection of the body. What do some of those therapies include?
Well, basically, we have to, besides doing the conventional physical evaluation and listening to the heart and checking the lungs and everything that we normally do in conventional medicine, we do an examination of nutrients. We check for nutritional deficiencies, we check for hormonal imbalances, and also we check for toxins. The first thing we need to do is to repair the gastrointestinal tract. Almost everyone has damaged the intestinal tract. And you can do as many endoscopies and colonoscopies and upper endoscopies and all that, and you're not going to find anything because the problem is microscopic. Mm-hmm. When you do an endoscopy, you're looking for a tumor, for an ulcer, for something serious. But a lot of patients, you don't find anything when you do those tests, and it's because they have a problem at the microscopic level, at the cellular level. So we have to find out what nutrients are they missing, what hormones they need. A lot of people have problem with thyroid. A lot of people have problem with their testosterone, and females with their female hormones, and also adrenals. Adrenals are the glands that produce cortisol. And it could be elevated or could be low, and that causes an imbalance on the rest of the hormones too. Very, very important. It causes fatigue and other problems. So we evaluate nutrition, we evaluate hormones, we look for toxins, and also we look for infections. Many people have candida or yeast, chronic yeast infection in the intestine. Sometimes they have parasites. Believe it or not, it's interesting because a lot of people, when we talk about parasites, they think that, people in India or Mexico or China or whatever, you would be amazed how many people in this country have parasites. So we have to evaluate for parasites, and sometimes the stool test will not show parasites. You have to do other tests. So we have to look into all that, nutrition, hormones, detox, chronic infections, and we're correcting little by little, correct this, correct that, and also try to detoxify people from heavy metals, chlorine, fluoride, all the different toxins. And then people start turning around. Mm-hmm. They do beautiful. People improve once we start changing that. The diet is very important because if you try to heal, to get better, and you don't want to make any changes, you don't want to change your diet, you don't want to change your habits, you want to continue sitting in front of the TV and not exercising, you will not get better. I mean, it requires a lot of effort. It requires changing your diet. It requires exercising. It requires to remove the toxins, to add nutrients, to fix the hormones. So it's a process. Detoxification is huge. It's very, very important.
If I could take this to somebody who may be just getting to know about the principles of wellness, right, and is looking past conventional medicine, and they're looking for somebody who's closer to them. Obviously, you're in California, but say I'm from Michigan or I'm from Florida or Texas. What should I be looking for in a practitioner of integrated medicine?
Well, most of the doctors that practice, you can call it integrated medicine, functional medicine, anti-aging medicine, and they're pretty similar. So if, let's say, you're in another state, you can go on the website. It's called A like an apple, 4, number 4, M like Mary is A4M. You can Google that one. And that's the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, which is a huge academy. They have thousands and thousands of doctors that practice integrated medicine. And they have on their website, they have a button that says, look for a doctor in your area. And then if you're a member of the academy, then, they're there. And they'll tell you where is the closest doctor. You can call, find out what they do, and see how they can help you.
If we both believe that, and I think we do, that good medicine is based in really good science, what would you change if you were to teach the next generation of doctors?
Well, first thing, you have to really evaluate nutrition. And nutrition, unfortunately, is a very subject that is really missed in medical school. But you have to really start looking into the lifestyle. What is causing all these problems? Lack of nutrients, lifestyle. I would just think that toxicology would be a very interesting subject to use in medical school. Understand all the toxins that we expose, because this is something new. I mean, we didn't have this problem 50 years ago, 60 years ago. But now we're so loaded with toxins. It's something that should be taught in medical school. Nutrition is another important issue. And hormones, even endocrinologists, they still don't understand the difference between treating diseases and keeping people healthy. One thing that I need to emphasize is that when we use hormones, we use what we call bioidentical hormones. People, unfortunately, have the impression that hormones are bad for you. Because what happened is they were using the synthetic hormones for many years. I was using synthetic hormones when I was in my previous practice. But we were using hormones that are man-made pretty much, and hormones that were from a horse. So, people started to develop serious complications, cancer, heart attacks, a bunch of problems. So they came with the thing about, hormones are bad for you. Don't use hormones. They cause cancer. They cause heart attacks, gallstones, and all that. But what they don't clarify is that the hormones that they were using were synthetic. Bioidentical hormones are made by plants. So they are identical to the human hormone. So when we use those hormones, the chances of complications are low compared to the synthetic hormones. And also the way we administer the hormones. The hormones should not be taken by mouth because they go through the liver, they go through the intestine, and then the structure gets changed. So when we use bioidentical hormones, we try to use it as a form of a cream or as an implant. And that goes directly into the blood, resembling what the ovaries and testicles do. So people really improve by using it that way. So unfortunately, people created this image that hormones equal cancer. And unfortunately, they still have that image. And it's not true.
Right.
It is not true. The imbalance of hormones is what could cause cancer, but not the hormones.
If folks wanted to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with you, doctor? Because I've got to say, you've really intrigued me.
I would say the first thing they could do is go on my website. The website is DrZermeno.com. It's D-R-Z like zebra, E-R-M-E-N-O.com. And they can go on my website, look what I do. There are some videos and things like that they can watch. And then the phone numbers are there for the clinics. If they're interested, they can call the office and we can give them more information. I would rather that they go on the website and they can maybe put some questions or whatever, and we can try to answer. They can also email me at DrZ, it's DRC, at DrZermeno.com.
Brilliant. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Zermeno, for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope we can have you back on the show again because we have barely scratched the surface. Thank you so much for giving us part of your evening.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Once again, I would like to thank Dr. German Zermeno as well as Zenus CEO Doug Whitfield for joining me tonight on this maiden voyage. And of course, many thanks to you for listening in at home. You can also stay in touch with the Wellness Express by following us at facebook.com/ZenusHQ. Check us out on Twitter at Zenus Global for all the updates and more. Remember, the greatest gift you can give your friends, your loved ones, is the lessons we share about the healing powers found in our bodies. So send your friends, family, and colleagues a link to one of our shows and let their journeys begin. This has been the Wellness Express. The consultation's free, direct from Nature's Pharmacy. We'll be back again next week. In the meantime, stay well.